All right. Good morning, everybody. So we made it. We're on the other side of the NVDA's earnings. Everything looks good from that point of view. We're still wanting to focus on the possibility of a rate hike versus a pause, and Jackson Hole is still something that we need to contend with on Friday. Good morning. Good morning. NASDAQ up 1%. Small caps basically flat, and the Dow sliding a little into the red, but not much. So we got a real discrepancy between our blue chip and small caps versus the NASDAQ and the S&P. You want to keep your eye on that NASDAQ versus everyone else and to see how we're going to resolve this. Oftentimes you'll see, say, the NASDAQ unwind and kind of move back towards where everybody else is, or it'll stay stalled, kind of chopping around where it is and give the others time to catch up. We're going to get a little bit of job numbers today. These aren't the big ones that we need to really be concerned with. We don't turn our back to data. It's just that this data isn't really the big ones that we're hunting for. So, yeah, let it roll through. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. And then we've got auctions in the front end in multiple places, 11:30 and 1 o'clock. But after the auction, we should be good to go for any afternoon plays. I didn't hear anything on the minutes that came out from the ECB meeting minutes. So if you get a chance, you might want to circle back through that. And keep your eye on Europe's close today. See if our market changes dynamics any at all after they go into the close. All right, so we've been keeping our eye on the December and the October series, uh, looking to see if they're pulling forward a rate hike from December into October. So far, we're not seeing any signs of that. It seems to be instead affirming the idea that we're not going to get a hike pulled forward, and instead, we're more likely to just sit where we're at and not do anything at all. Notice there's still no discussion of a cut because that's just completely off the table at this point. We still have the VIX below 16, hanging out in this tight range that we've developed down here. We don't have a systemic threat. The market isn't developing any complex hedging dynamics. We're just hanging out. So, of course, we want to keep our eye on this for any sort of spikes or alerts. You're better off just setting an alarm there than doing anything else. Kind of just glance at it through the day. You shouldn't have problems in this regard. Unless we get some shock headlines that we can't see coming, that shouldn't be an issue. President's score is really low. If that changes, I'll let you guys know. But for now, there's just nothing in this either. The earnings on NVIDIA seem to have been really good. It's reaffirmed what everybody was wanting to see. So now we're back out here on the daily, and we started the push. Now, of course, this can be a fake out. We don't want to say that price can't do something. But we've been looking to get out of this box. We got the gap up from NVIDIA's earnings last night. We came down and we closed that gap. So we've removed that pressure. Now it kind of leaves us in this situation where we're stuck with what's next. So if we get forced buying, we could manage a grind higher and TRB today. That can get us back up to 78.40, or I like 78.32. It's a cog line up there. Even just getting up into 7,800 would be a good start, but really I want to get past that. And we're talking about doing that in a single day, right? Today. We really don't want to fall back down inside of this box that I have drawn. Or to say it another way, we don't want to fall back down below the 10-day moving average. So if we do break back down, we want to focus on the levels that we've laid out below, split the mid on this box that I've got drawn, which should put us somewhere around 76.92 cog line. Then we'll focus on taking out the low and run the 50s, 76.50, 7600, run it down from there. Not looking for that, right? Just want to have a clear idea of what we're going to do no matter what direction we get. The call wall and the put wall have still not moved. They're in the same spot. I almost shared a picture of that this morning simply because of how long they've stayed in one spot. They've been there since we did OPEX. Now here we are at the end of the month and they're still in the same spot. So they're building up a lot of level, a lot of structure, a lot of money is there. If we attempt to break through that OPEX call wall and put wall before OPEX, I think we're going to have a real hard time doing that. but we should be able to get there, right? That's possible. 85,000 in the overnight last night shows that they were in here participating, and getting that gap closed before we even opened is a real gift, right? Just get that done and out of the way so we're not obligated to go get it done later on. We rallied up really nice, and we had set a higher high after we got the gap closed, which was looking pretty good, right? We were working our way down, and then on the run back up, we had broke this high. But then we needed to put in a higher low here, something nice and clean and clear like we had back here and here. And instead we got this trash. So it's starting to get a little sloppy. We're losing our uniformity. And at this point, we've now developed the range that we're likely to hang out in. And we're going to need to get out of this. Now we got an inside day breakout at this point, and we need to keep it. The concern is if we drop back down inside of yesterday's range again, get below that 10-day, that we're likely going to get stuck down there and not be able to get out of it again today. If we're done, we should spend the rest of the day inside of our own range here and just go into the close. Maybe we can test the edges higher and lower, but if we're done, then this should be it for us today. And I know it might feel like we got something accomplished last night, but here's our levels, and as you can see, we didn't get to the edge. So it might have felt like we were getting a lot done, but we would need to break our own Globex high and move another 15 points or so just to get to the ADR half, or break back down inside of yesterday's range and move a good 20 points to get to the lower ADR. There's your 8K, Jay. If we make a break out of the top of the Globex, we can take out the ADR half and make a run for 77.92 cog line. Overshoot the 92 cog line, take out 8K. Yeah, you like it. Today's floor pivot is higher than yesterday. That's bullish. Price opened above it. That's also bullish. And so far today, we have a MDP. That's a missed daily pivot. And that's also bullish. The problem is we can't count the missed pivot yet. We have to get through the entire day first and then look back and say, yeah, we never hit that pivot. 76.97, so basically 7,700. We don't want to hit this level. We want to go through the entire day without doing that. That would be the first day on a series or a count with strength behind it. When you get a run that starts after a reversal, we're trying to gauge how strong that run is and whether or not it's likely to continue. And And when there is pullbacks in that run, was others willing to step in and take the place of those who were leaving? So we look for these missed daily pivots because we're looking for where we might be stalled out, even though we're having bullish days, as opposed to not being stalled out and continuing to advance higher and higher and higher. So we've got our first one after being range bound. If we're going to start running up and turn this move into a cup or maybe a scoop pattern, somewhere where we have, multiple days on the way back up, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 days to make our way back up, we would be looking for these missed daily pivots underneath. Now, if we TRB, then we're looking to get back to the top in a single day, right? Just get it done. So the signal has started. It's clear at this point, and we just don't even want to get down into this channel, right? We don't really want to get back inside of yesterday's range. We are hanging out at the weekly pivot right now, and we're stuck inside of that weekly channel. We bounced off the top of it, 77.42, which is a old school cog line. We don't really use that one anymore. And the channel low, it's basically yesterday's high. So that pretty much defines our Globex at this point. Not really all that helpful for us at the moment, other than we need to get out of that box. We already hit R2. That's 77.36 back here. You can't see R1 because it's buried inside that floor pivot, but it was there. Now that we've hit R2, it's likely that we stay between the floor pivot and R2 for the rest of the day. It doesn't owe us anything else. But if we manage to get above the 42 level, this weekly channel top, we've got 77.76 up here. That is right in front of the 77.92 cog line and the full ADR and that 7,800 level. After being sideways for 4 days, it's a little bit of a surprise that we got this initial pop and we wasn't able to follow through with it. I mean, we didn't dump back down, so, give them some cookies for that, but like, where's the beef? It's a little disappointing, huh? They're still not willing to commit yet. All right, we've hit last week's point of control, and right now we're sort of sitting in that footprint. Of course, if we drop back down inside of yesterday's range, then we'll get stuck in this week's footprint. If we break our own Globex high, that should get us through the value area high of last week. It thins out, and then we've got the 77.70 area with a little bit of a footprint back here. And that lines up with our R3 levels. So nice to see that everybody's in agreement there. We haven't had enough time yet for the market to respond, right? We need regular trading hours after the NVDA report to really get a feel for how they're allocating money. So we'll look back at this tomorrow and see if there's any significant changes. But for now, it's still showing that nothing has changed. They're not willing to commit, but they're not selling out either. $10-day, 30-minute volume profile and TPO. It's still pretty nasty out here, stuck inside the value area. If we happen to get out of it, it gets thin. Got a nice shallow area back here. And 7800's the next level that really has any markers to it. The TPO doesn't reflect that. All right, it's all on the volume side. But 7800 would be a good place to start. It's a good 60-point run-ish. That 77.70 area, 77.75, it does have a bit of a footprint back here. So if we do get that breakout and make a run for it, just be mindful that you might have a bit of a trouble before you get into 7800, somewhere on the quarters. And yesterday we got a new VPOC. This is yesterday's point of control. And so far we haven't hit it. I'm not going to zoom in and get it to the tick perfect. I'll just use points. It's close enough. 76.87. I like 76.92, but whatever. It works. It's close enough. If we break down through our own Globex low, that's going to put us inside of yesterday's range. And from there, we'll focus on the roundy 7700 and then 76.92 cog line or this point of control. Below that, we'll aim for the low of the day and a 111 or a 1236 underneath it. We're not looking for a significant sell-off here, even if things did get ugly, right? The base case for today is that we're going to hold the line and sit in this Globex jail that we built, or we're going to break out to the upside. Those two are more likely than a bearish scenario at this point. Just want to have a bearish plan just in case, right? $77.86 is this week's expected move on the upside. So we've got room to move up, and we've got the time to make that move. Even with this gap up that we've had, we're not overbought. We're not overextended. We haven't moved too far too fast. And there's nothing that says we need to stop or slow down or even turn around at this point. Same thing on the weekly. We're less than 1.5% above the 10-week. We can easily go 2% from here and still not be overbought. So we got no issues with how far we've moved on the week, which makes sense because So far, we haven't done anything. With so much of the market waiting on NVIDIA, the expectation this morning was that we would have this sort of risk on behavior, that everybody would be willing to commit capital again because this big looming boogeyman is finally out in the open. And well, where is everybody? So we got the Mag 7 down, volume is down. The two negatives is a positive. Financials and staples also down. Healthcare's down, just not enough. And we got communications down. It's one of our growth names. We don't want that to be down, but maybe we can turn that one back around. Meta had that big court case and kind of got their hands slapped. So it's probably going to take a little bit of time. Hey, don't be fooled on that either, right? Just because it sounds really bad and it sounded negative, if it's resolved, then the market's going to turn that into a positive, because it'll be finally done and over with, and the unknown will be known, right? Even if the answer isn't all rainbows and sunshine. Looking at what's up this morning, chips, software. It's been a little while since we saw this, right? We had it once last week, a few times. Typically, what we've been seeing is either chips up and software down, or vice versa. And rarely have we seen them both up or both down. But that's what we've got this morning. Having both of those up is encouraging. It does suggest we could break and move to the upside today. Keep your eye on them. They don't both need to stay up for the S&P to hold this level. And in fact, it might even help us out a little if software fades out some. We've got generic tech, Bitcoin, more Bitcoin, quantum. So we do want to see that we've got our riskier assets up, like robots, quantum. But we don't have gold or the MAGS ETF. And I'm not seeing some of our others like IPO or Sky, the UFO. So there's room for improvement this morning, but it's a good start. Chips and software covers the hyperscalers, even if we don't necessarily have the MAGS ETF. And we've got Bitcoin and quantum. So they are taking risk. We are seeing some size, and these are the right sectors. We just want to see more of that, right? A rising tide that lifts all boats. And we don't have all boats yet. So keep your eye on the ones that aren't moving yet. See if they start to catch a bid. We'll get this day started. So nice and easy. We got to get out of the box. If we leave from the downside, that puts us back in the range that we have built since last Friday. And it's likely that we'll get stuck in that range from last week, and we'll end the day somewhere inside that trash. So we want to stay outside of that. which means we're going to stay inside our box and look for a topside breakout as the better play on the day. If we do get out the top, 7750 and then 7800, watch the cog lines at 92. And it should be just a laid back run to the upside. Shouldn't be all that big of a deal, right? I would be careful of a 111 because if we do stay in this range for the day, even though I'm not seeing any reason for us to do that, it's possible. If we're going to hang out in here for the rest of the day, we could take a 111 or a 1236 off of our Globex top or bottom, right? So we could end up reversing off these edges and coming back in and just spending the day inside this range. We had some good sectors up this morning, which imply we could get this breakout and the run up to 7,800 and then some. But with all of those that we have up right now, we're still fading and we're below the Globex half. So that's why there's some hesitation at this point. You don't really have a lot of headlines today that's going to help you out. It's going to have to be a change in something, right? Dollar, treasuries, commodities, VIX. We've got market breadth and it isn't getting the job done. So we're going to need something else. We could see dealer positionings after the open. Maybe they'll come in and help us out. But other than that, we're going to have to look somewhere else. The breadth isn't strong enough to get the job done. The VIX is already really low. Going lower in the VIX really isn't going to do it either. So gold's really not moving much this morning. We could track that. Crude, dollar, yields. See if one of those can spark a fire. That's what I got for you guys. Be careful. Be safe. Watch the clock.